could be over today. Volleyball has a game tonight, which when I get done here, hopefully I can hop in the rig maybe and catch some of that at Priest River. Their districts will begin next week. Football has a bye week this week. Their final game will be the following Friday, and then off to state. What other sports going on? Trap shooting club. I believe we have 3 more trap shoots this fall. Superintendent of state of Idaho superintendent visited us a few weeks back, and we had an opportunity to show her and her right-hand man our facilities, our CTE, our vision for the future. Spoke a little bit about our grant process, which we're in the middle of completing. We'll get that to the state here in about a month, and hopefully find out where we're sitting there to potentially add auto and forestry programs and build a facility at St. Mary's. Kind of be our crown jewel for not just St. Mary's, but this is an Idaho impact move. So really looking forward to that. Really proud of our BPA students. We're working on establishing a pathway in that CTE program. And again, a very energetic young teacher has kind of grabbed that program by the horns and is just asking lots of questions and very curious and hardworking. And he's really, really dynamic young man that we're blessed to have. So hopefully we can create a pathway there for our CTE. I believe all of our CTE programs, that's the future. If we don't embrace it, we would be very foolish. So that's kind of where I think all education is moving towards. So I think we're doing a good job of staying abreast with those needs. Any questions?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
You have your Mr. with the business class. Isn't he running a project right now that's very, I guess, hands-on in terms of?
Yeah, we've kind of moved our most of those classes computer-based. You really get into the nuts and bolts of doing work there, but he's taken that to project-based, which you're still learning the computer programs, but you're not. Instead of learning Excel, you've built a business that you run Excel with. So he's doing all of those things. We've started our market again, fundraising, teaching students how to run their own business, being accountable, all the things that go with that. So very hands-on and project-based.
Yeah.
Question: when Mrs. Critchfield was here, did you mention to them, or Ryan Cantrell, about trying to embrace cooking and plumber, and possibly just meant to?
Into the new grant we're writing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, just, be able to.
And just share resources. We didn't get a chance to fully embrace it because I thought I was laying it on a little too thick as it was. But if you're fighting for government dollars, man, you need to pull out all the stops. And I think we need auto mechanics. We need forestry. Our kids need to be learning these skills. Mm-hmm. And to have that kind of, say, a crown jewel sitting in our backyard. Everywhere else, they kind of have this thing. K-Tech, they're like, well, go to K-Tech. It's like, we can't get there. So this could be our Northern Idaho K-Tech.
Yeah.
Kids from all over can come. And
did they have any kind of reception to it?
It hasn't really been done. Typically, when they open CTE facilities, they're a standalone district. Like K-Tech is K-Tech. It's not Post Falls High School K-Tech. It's not.
Yeah,
they all kind of feed it. So this would be kind of, we'd be at the forefront of trying something like this. And I don't know, is it feasible to bus students from Kootenai or Plummer? That would be up to them. I think so.
Yeah, it may make the school day a little bit longer for the student, but I think the benefits on the backside would outweigh that.
And it's something, as we listen to the audit, we can go out and get this grant money, but it's also a decision the board will have to make moving forward, because it will not fund the pupil, the person in the job. So that's going to be a cost, Wayne, that Net could probably give you a better idea of. Okay, if we have this influx of enrollments, is that going to offset a body, a person?
I think that was part of the discussion of, I don't know where that committee is that I sat on, Mrs. Critchfield, the governmental affairs guy for Idaho Forest Group, Tom Schultz. I think Stimson was there, Potlatch was there, U of I was there. That was that big bill that she got through. And I think some of the questions was, are we able to use some of that money to help fund the instructor to keep that going?
The beginning of the grant, I sat down in July and started. It was on there. The people you need, how much they cost. We did our homework. And then 1st of August, when we turned it in, they're like, nope, can't do that. So that would be on us if and when we pass this next hurdle, which is the 1st of November.
They were very receptive when we talked about the facility, the 2 pathways, partnering with Cookie and Plummer, both superintendents are on board. They was very, very supportive, and we also talked about the partnerships with local businesses, both guest speaking on teaching what skills our kids will need, but also lining up job shadows and paid partnerships. So there was a lot of like, yes, St. Mary's is one of the reasons we promoted or pushed for the CTE grant, and it's allocated.
Well, hopefully it'll still keep.
Yeah, lots of moving parts and pieces. We're going to give it our best shot.
Well, all you can do is just do what we can do and see what shakes out.
Our kids deserve it. Our community deserves it.
Yeah.
Well, no, stop, for sure. All the way to Chris Asbury will be there in person at the subcommittee to answer any questions that they have right in the moment, because they have a lot of questions when they're reading through all this documentation. And I was like, well, can we be there? This is Chris Asbury's idea, to answer questions on the spot, so it doesn't get turned down, and you have all the information when you're making
I think
informed
that's
decision.
good if you can get involved with that, is they're trying to go through it, if they do have any questions, because there's things that they're not gonna have the answer to, and you possibly will have.
Well, just to show them, hey, we're here.
Yeah.
Well, building
I've taken time out
relationship
to
with the
be
grant
in Boise
is
in
what
front of
need
you
to do.
to do this.
Well, we're all behind you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, upriver and federal program, Mr. Blackwell.
We're back.
Danette'll
Danette'll-
redo it later for you.
All right, since 9/18/23 to 10/5/23, we were able to do many emergency drills, capped with our initial fire evacuation drill. It lasted 4 minutes, 25 seconds. On next month's board report, we did another one today, and we were able to beat that time, so we did a good job with that, our kids and staff. We also did 3 reverse evacuation drills. We have 4 total drills that we have procedures for, so we've now hit at least 2 of them. But I forgot, we did a hull check on 10/5, so we've hit 3 of the 4 drills. Side note, I've been kind of thwarted in the past to do a building evacuation, which is like a component of another drill if you need to evacuate, let's say there's an actual fire or some other emergency. And the past couple of years, I've been thwarted by, we didn't have like a key to get out of a gate and fix that, made all our keys match. And so we were gearing up to do one. And then we realized that where we do our emergency evacuation, our key no longer works. So I'm on the county I sent a letter to the county commissioners to see if we can get a key to that building so we can emergency evacuation there if we need to. So Data review, our Idaho reading indicator, our beginning of year state benchmark for kindergarten through third grade shows 39% of our students are proficient or advanced. Last year at this time, we were at 27%, so we're already 12% ahead of where we were last year. Student recognition on 10/6, we had our student of the month assembly for Friendly. The names are attached in your board report on who we were able to recognize. We had 73% of the students with family present at that recognition for students being recognized. So that was a good beginning of the year. I think last year we didn't quite have that high of a number. So we're starting off good. And I want to say last couple of years, we probably ranged between like 60 and maybe 88. So it's a good starting number. Events at Upriver, September 27th, our PTO sponsored a full day assembly with workshops with the fitness guru Mark Rothstein, who also brings messages of character building. It was an all-day affair with most grades having their own time in here to work with him. Feedback was great. Teacher said he really can work a room and get his students engaged. Since then, no surprise, jump roping's been very popular at Upriver. So I tried to get ahead of that. I talked to him. I'm like, what jump ropes do you recommend? He said he'd donate 24, I think, jump ropes, which is pretty significant for the population we have. And our PTO tipped him, so he threw in, I don't know how many more jump ropes, and he was very appreciative of that. So we have a lot of jump roping going on. Kids are wanting to start a club. It's been positive. October 10th through 22nd, our school's participating in a book blast program. This is kind of an awesome program that I was brought to my attention last year with Hayburn. One of their staff invited me to a room where all these prepackaged books were to increase students' literacy in their home libraries. So far, there's a lot of emails, a lot of social media stuff that I have to send, but it seems like a really, really good program, and it's meant to where families can sign up like 10 contacts of people that might want to donate to their students' book totals. And I think students can get up to 10 books. And then there's a community donation link. So every student's automatically going to get one book, but this community donation, which I think we already had some community donators, is going to bring the book levels up for the other students. So hopefully a lot of students have many, many books. And always an opportunist. I won't shy away from that. I've drafted letters for businesses or community members that wish to make a donation. I'll put that on social media also. So yeah, anybody wanting to donate to where we can bring that level of one book up, please talk to me. I'll get you that community link, and I'll also be advertising on our social media pages. November 9th, we will have our Veterans Day Assembly with the American Legion Auxiliary members. Veterans and community members are encouraged to attend, as you guys are also. We kind of have a good system worked out with the VFW there in St. Mary's, where we're kind of on their radar, and they actually called me this year about, hey, we're still doing that. So it's a nice partnership that we have. Panhandle Health will provide a cavity prevention service at Upriver for families who opt in for this service. It'll be on October 13th. Upriver PTO is sponsoring a Halloween carnival on October 28th. I have not been to one, but I hear they're quite the community event, and they were a little bit worried about it happening this year because they really needed extra helpers, and I heard they had a meeting to try to see who would be interested, and they got enough to pull that off. Our annual harassment presentations Upriver are finished. Our behavior tech was able to present to each class. Community counseling opportunities are supposed to be beginning in October, as I met with Heritage Health. Somebody that lives actually in our area was able to visit our school. I was able to tell him a couple locations that he could, and again, that's for families who opt in for that. On October 5th, Idaho Representative Dale Hawkins and Trustee Helverson visit our school, where we were able to give them a tour of the school. In Mr. Atchison's class, they were able to ask them questions. I think in Mrs. Stoll's class also. Speaking of Miss Stoll, I forgot to mention this, but I don't know if she introduced herself, but she's also our student council advisor. I want to emphasize that she does not have to do that position. So she does it. She takes time away from her schedule to do that. We have lots of staff who do that here, but for student council, it's her. They raise money, create prizes for drawings, and assist in other ways for the school and even 5th, 6th grade parties. So that's nice that she does that. She doesn't have to, not a requirement. Questions? Yes.
An hour of that, and you help facilitate really good conversation. And
Yeah, and he was even invited to this board meeting. We let him know that it's here, and also invite him back for maybe some civics lessons. Mrs. Stoll's gonna try to arrange her lesson planning around election cycle, so he can come in and speak about that. And he seemed interested in that and coming back. So overall, I thought it was a good visit. So, all right, federal programs. And sorry, Dr. Lynch, I forgot you because when I did the report, I didn't know you were coming. So just reading my notes there. So. All right, federal programs. I attended a federal programs director meeting on 9/25, 9/26. McKinney-Vento students are identified. We're at 36 and counting. We will have more. I'm almost certain of it. Our online registration process created some gaps. So I have a list of students. I'm going to send out questionnaires to their home, and hopefully we get them all returned, and we will know if any other students need to be identified. We're advertising for a community food distribution that's going on in St. Mary's on October 26th at the Kermana Building. This event is sponsored by an organization called Second Harvest, and just an extra way of families in need can help stock their shelves. Federal program State Department staff visited our very school at Upriver. I don't know the last time we've had State Department people here. It's the first time in my tenure, so it was nice to have them. And one of the staff was our federal programs State Department staff, Josh Noteboom. So it was not good to have him here since being the federal programs director. I'm starting to create a relationship with him. Title I annual performance report was submitted. Fall Parent Advisory Council meetings are scheduled for Upriver and Hayburn. And I learned at our federal programs directors meeting that we will have our 6-year federal program state review next year. Any questions for federal programs?
I got, I don't know if you'll know, we might have to have help in that, but I know several years ago, I tried to get kind of a little fund started with Mrs. Trescott. So if some of these kids needed coats, shoes, personal stuff, whatever it may be, we had a little fund that we could, the teachers could go, or you could go grab and give the kids something they needed. Just kind of curious how that's going. Are we okay? Do we need to try and get some more funds?
You want me to go first? Okay. I know we have title money set aside up to $1,000 for things like ASB cards, athletic fees, cap and gowns, clothing, whatever. However, McKinney-Vento encourages that you utilize community resources first, then go to those funds. For example, the Nazarene Church has this community closet with all kinds of gloves and things. So like, let's say, we had a couple of house fires last year. I was able to direct families in that
Okay.
way and let them know about those resources. And then with the grants with the one grant that I completed in year one as federal programs director, we exhausted those funds last year. And so we have a surplus of backpacks, school supplies, hygiene supplies, books, binders, backpacks. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
There's things for the kids.
There are, yeah.
Okay.
And I think now that I have this list identified, I'm gonna I actually reached out to the building administration and secretaries and said, people that have needs, we have a lot of this. I think we also have quite a few socks. We kind of got into a good sock resource. In fact, we were supposed to have more delivered at the end of last year that we never got. So,
Okay.
the closet at the district office is bursting and waiting for people to grab things. And so district building staff know, and they're going to start communicating with teachers that if you see a student that has a need for something, to please contact me and I'll ship it their way.
Okay. All right.
And as far as any other funds, I don't know if we have another.
There's probably a little bit left, because when you guys, there was a couple of you that donated it.
Yeah.
Stacy did use some of that, but there is some, I can look at that. and
Okay.
see. But it is kept track of.
Yeah, I just curious to make sure the kid, if they need some stuff. Yes, Ms. Stoll.
There's also, through the IEA, a site that any teacher could go into and apply for classes, food cards,
Okay.
anything like that. It's a fund that's completely set up separate, and anyone that is in the building that knows the child will need can apply for that grant money.
Okay,
shoes or anything like that.
all right, good deal.
It's
Oh,
a good program.
okay, good, all right.
What's the acronym stand for?
I think it's, well, it's the Idaho Education Association, but it's kind
I
of a
gotcha.
separate little fun thing through them. I believe it's, helping hands, or children's hands, something like that.
That's
I'll
fair.
find out for you.
No, you're okay. Thank you.
Okay. That, and I want to thank you for your extra service with the kids and your,
Yes. The leadership.
the leadership stuff there. Thank you.
We have a strong student council this year. They're a fun group to work with. So
I can't imagine not having a strong student council.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Thank
Anything
you.
else? Okay, thank you.
It's Principal Blackwell. And
Yep,
Esbern.
thank you, Mr. Blackwell. Kay, Superintendent's report.
Since we just had a regular meeting 3 weeks ago, this one's pretty short. Just jump in if you have questions, otherwise I'll move through fast. So Blackwell already spoke to our highlight of State Legislator Dale Hawkins here. Just an opportunity to showcase one of our schools and school district. These next three slides, I'd like to share about the vision, a little data point, some of our goals and action steps, and I just continue to uphold those areas of our strategic plan, our vision and mission with a data point in reference to that citation there and those authors who have studied, and they write about what makes effective school boards and superintendents. They also, which in turn supports a successful school district. And some important practices are school board and superintendent uphold and have a vision. The school district holds, the superintendent, and then the superintendent holds the staff accountable. So there's always a data point to look at to measure our progress and achievement towards our goals. And that we have a strategic plan with goals and some action steps. So we always know where we're taking our kids. We can answer how our kids doing with the data point, and we can talk about what are we doing to continue to see our kids improve and achieve.
That strategic plan goals since 2006. Is that just a,
Correct. It's been, since 2006, St. Mary's have had these same 5 strategic goals.
okay,
And the strategic plan is usually 5 years. So we will look in January. It'll be time to revisit the strategic plan and gather input. What often stays the same are the goals. What you'll see adjust or change will be some of the action steps or programs to reach our goals. And what you'll continue to see change is based on our data points, the targets, like how many kids and percentage of kids we want to see achieve, and the number of percentage of kids now college and career ready, the number and percentage of kids now feeling safe and healthy and invited in school. So the performance targets will change, and a lot of the program and action steps, and often the goals stay similar. So yeah, they have been there for that many years.
all right.
And then those are a few of our action steps underneath to support our kids in reaching those goals. Oops. You've got a data point. Again, it's very global data point of how our K-3 kiddos are doing in comparison to the state. That's stayed steady for K-3 in the last couple of years. And the literacy rate for 4th through 12th, kids who are at or above grade level in reading and writing, listening and speaking. And you can see that result compared to the state. Our graduation and college and career readiness is about 80%. It's holding steady with the state.
Good.
And then we'll continue to talk about those programs and action steps to see our numbers continue to grow. That's what we want to see continue to improve. I talked a little bit about this last time. Some of the top often school districts, when they revisit their strategic plan, will include 3 to 5 really important values, right? So you look to your goals and your vision when you're making decisions. And then often you'll include, like I said, some really key values that a school district wants to hang on to. And you think of your goals and you always consider your values when you're operating the school district and making decisions. So that'll be some of the work we're going to want to do when we revisit our strategic plan, and that's getting input from staff, and that's getting input from families. Now, you can infer some important values that come out when you read the strategic plan, right? You interact with families and communities, and you know community involvement is an important value for St. Mary's. You hear lots of talk of having quality staff and retaining quality staff for our kiddos and quality instruction. So, and certainly accountability that, we're getting results. And with the communication you hear from our patrons and transparency that you hear from our patrons, that's where and how we build that trust and teamwork. So that's important for people. So those are some of the values that I'm able to infer when I interact with St. Mary's and when I read through our strategic plan. So we'll have that opportunity when we revisit and update our strategic plan to gather that input for our programs and action steps to reach our goals. And also, what are those 3 to 5 really important values that we want to explicitly and collectively, collaboratively be able to identify. When I cited those authors, Gore and Ellsbury, Marzano and Walters, about practices that make for a successful school board, or what makes effective school board members and superintendents, engaging and including or involving the community is another big one. And so that's definitely been an important goal of ours since July 1. These are some of the ways, not all the ways, but these are some of the ways looking to involve and engage with the community.
Okay.
There's some additional ways to continue to communicate and engage with the community. The Gazette has been great about letting us print the district corner each month, just information. I know regular board meetings can be frustrating when we're not always being able to have that dialogue. So we're working hard to record all the minutes and then be able to send the information, concern, highlight question to the appropriate staff member, and follow up the week after, the following days after the meeting. There's a curriculum highlight. Some of our patrons have talked about, where is our curriculum to be able to look at? And St. Mary's is a little behind in terms of being able to have our curriculum posted on the website. And so we created a teaching and learning page on the district website. It's one of our departments, and we're building it out. And this is some of the information. If you go to our website, go to departments and look at our teaching and learning section that people can now find. Ted, that's where you'll be able to find the math curriculum notes and minutes. Maybe that's where we got some of our current K-12 adopted curriculum. It's a start. We're building it out.
Okay.
There we go. David, short and to the point.
I think with that said, I think we can probably talk a little bit about the workshop we had the other day. You left, didn't you? With Assembly.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Assembly,
Yes.
yeah. I sat through a workshop with
That's an important piece, yes.
Teresa and Tana, and we're moving forward to get the board books done electronically. And,
Yeah.
so with that said, there's components in this thing that I think will make the patrons happy, because a lot of stuff will be online. You'll be able to access their stuff immediately. And so we're trying to move forward to that. It just takes a little bit of time.
Just for clarification, are you saying that you're trying to, instead of having your binders, all of that would be available online for us to look at, all of it that isn't administration or children?
Yes, correct. And it's going to take a little while because it's a big,
Undertaking.
yeah,
Well, there's-
it's a big deal. I mean, there's got to be training that the staff has to go through.
There's a lot of setup of the templates.
Yeah, but
Migrating information.
I do believe once we kind of get into this thing, I think you guys will be happy, because a lot of stuff will be at your disposal on your laptop or your home
Sam
computer,
putting down that
whatever
yet?
else. You'll be able to see it. So,
This one
you
you're
know,
using.
we're trying to move forward to help everybody across the board. And
Yeah.
I feel that it's a very good move for us, because you talk about how many books do you print? 7,
8 total?
8 books total once a month.
Plus copies.
So there's 2 or 3 reams of paper that you go through. Well, however many, but yeah, so there's a lot of expense here that's taken in this book, let alone the time and effort that Tana has to do copying, putting them in the book, the wear and tear, the printer ink on the copier, all that stuff. I tried to get a rough figure of what we spend, per month on a board book. And I think we're pretty much going to be breaking even far as what we'll be spending on moving forward to this program in a year's time. So
So you're just purchasing a program, will you guys use your own personal computers, or will we also be purchasing a laptop or?
Well,
We have Chrome.
they have Chromebooks,
I
like,
wrote a grant for that like 2 years ago, so we already have those.
if we choose to use our own device, we can. It's just, there's some stipulations that come with it.
One of the programs is called Simbly, and Kootenai, if you want to see what it looks like, Kootenai School District is using it.
And it's called assembly?
Simbli.
Simbly.
Simbly.
So the typical board agenda now, it's built out into a template. And then you have supporting documents attached. And what it does is then it's just accessible to the board members, myself, and the public. And I haven't been to Kootenai's board meeting, but typically there'll be a device like a student or a teacher would use to access during the board meeting. And then anyone else can access Simbly and the board agenda and all the supporting documents on their own device digitally.
So anyway, I just wanted to get that out there.
That's a good point, thank you.
We're trying to get stuff more accessible to you guys, to where it's a little bit easier for you to get. You don't have to call. And
Is this an open discussion?
in theory, I'm not supposed to, but I'm
Not supposed to be.
I'm trying.
You and I can do one-on-one later on. I mean, I stopped in the chicken today just to ask about this situation. And these guys are all graduates from the school district. And they relate how things used to be done and how it's of course time to change. They graduated 20 years ago. So, I'm just trying to get myself up to speed, and I appreciate your addressing the issue. I really do. Yeah, I won't take up the time of yours.
Sometime if you want to give me a call, pull me aside later, great. I'm more than happy to give you what I know about it, which isn't much at this point in time. When I sat on the ISBA board, first off, they used what they call board docs. And it's basically the same thing. And then they moved to Simbly, as I got off. And it's, you know, once you kind of know I mean, you just
Very
got to
similar.
get in there and play around with it, and you know, but I think it'll be a lot better. It'll be a lot more accessible to you guys. You guys will be able to look at the minutes, look at what's going on. You know, you could sit right there and go through the same thing as what we would have in front of us. So that, you know, so.
That's a good point to add to how we're looking to involve and engage the community. Good point.
You know, it's just, I mean, these women are overcast.
Yeah. Well, when I go in there and I see Tana and her hair is like this, and the whole office floor is plumb full of papers, it's like, okay, I'll come back later. So anyway, but I wanted to get that out there
Yeah,
that, you know,
good point. Thank you.
we're trying to help get the information out to you guys without, you know, you guys having to come to the district office or trying to look on, you know, the policies will be online. I mean, the deal that we went through the other day, it's going to be so amazing that everything will be right there in front of you.
Are you looking at an ETA sometime at the end of this year, or maybe hopefully before next school year, or no ETA at all?
Well, all I can say right now is sooner than later. As far as an ETA, I couldn't tell you. You know, I think it's as simple as us as saying, yes, we're going to do it. And then getting that team, because they're on the East Coast, getting them involved and, you know, access to all of our stuff. And, you know, it's just,
Set up training.
yeah,
Roll out.
we can kind of, as we get into this thing, I can try and keep you guys abreast as much as I can. Okay, hey, this is we're a quarter of the way through here, so, you know, give us a little more time. We're trying to do it, so.
Last question, maybe. Is that something that you as a board will have to vote on and say, yes, we're going to move to this other platform, or can you just do it?
You know, I'm not 100% sure on that. I
think
would
it,
have to get back with you on that. I'm not 100% sure whether the whole board has to agree to it or whether, you know, whether it's the superintendent's discretion of, hey, we're spending this much money here. Let's try and switch. You know, we've done the research. Let's take this money and move to here because this is kind of the way that we're going type thing. So I guess I couldn't answer that question.
in the superintendent reports, we can give updates on how we're progressing.
So
That's a good
as we learn,
That's part of our engagement.
we'll try and get the information out to you as much as we can.
Timeline.
So you're welcome. And like she said,
That's
you
a good
could go,
point. Thank you.
you can go online, you can look up Kootenai School District, Melba, Southern Idaho, uses Assembly,
Yeah, there's a few,
Boise.
maybe.
Cause I,
The little symbol is always located on the bottom of their minutes.
okay,
Seems like.
so you could
You'll
go
see right
online
away
and
if
look
they're
at their
electronic.
stuff and kind of get an idea what it's gonna be like. You're welcome. Okay, Idaho School Board Association activities, civility workshop, November 1st, 2023, St. Mary's. Now, this is a class, I'm not sure the length of it, how many hours?
I think it's a 2-hour. Is it at 5 o'clock? Maybe 5:30? 5 or 5:30. It's a 2-hour workshop.
November 1st.
Yeah.
So the public is
Workshop.
welcome to come.
It's a
It's a
workshop.
civility class, and I would recommend that everybody comes to it if we got to flood the boardroom, but it's going to be pretty good because it just basically civility.
Yes.
It has to be. It has to be. So 2024 proposed resolutions.
Oh,
There's only 7 this year.
yes.
5
5
to
to
7,
7 is
November
the-
1st.
Thank you.
Welcome. And you can bring us pizza if you want.
You'd love to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it'll
same
be good.
facilitator.
I think it'll be good.
Phil Gore.
Phil Gore. So, So, any questions on the resolution? Sandy probably knows more about them than anybody.
Your
But,
mic's on.
we're not tagged on any of them this year, so. Move on to 2023 ISBA convention, November 15th through the 17th.
What are the proposed ISBA resolutions?
They are number one, school age and accountability requirements brought by Caldwell.
To move from 16 to 18.
Number two, K-12 funding formula principles. Oh my gosh, that's a mouthful in itself. Boise and Cambridge is bringing that. Three is open enrollment and building capacity limits, Boise. Four is paraprofessional requirements and local testing, Boise. Five is placement of school nurses, speech and language pathologists on the career ladder. That's Moscow. That's the career ladder is where the teachers get paid, how they got a graph and up and down and side to side.
Basically want to offer them more.
Number six, streamlining ISBA consistent priorities. So I say that's executive board evidently. And seven, bond and levy disclosure amendments, executive board in Bonneville. So
Making advertising easier.
these are just proposals that they bring forward to try and get passed through legislators. The House and Senate Ed would, if they pass, then these would be going to the law, but it's got to go through the House and Senate Ed and be voted on, so. Yeah.
There's one right now.
Yeah, or if you want them right now, you can.
ISBA to the state legislature, not
Pardon me?
their proposals to the state legislature.
These proposals, what they're talking about now is these will all go out to every school district in the state. So when we come to our convention in November 15th, the last day, Friday, the 17th, they have the business meeting. So the whole trustees get to vote on whether these resolutions move forward from the executive board moves on to the governmental affairs people in the ISBA to be presented to the legislator to move into a law. So that's kind of how that process works. Welcome. Did you guys
Yeah.
want any more copies? Okay. Welcome. So 2023 ISBA Annual Convention. There's the workshops and I guess it's just the times, I guess. Doesn't tell you the workshops, but anyway.
Are we supposed to sign up for the workshops in advance?
Early
Oh, you just-
bird, you will.
Oh,
The rest of them, when you get your book down there, then
we can.
well, you'll get your book. It's probably about that thick. And then normally what we do as a district, we sit down together and say, okay, well, so-and-so's going to go to this workshop. So-and-so's going to, because there's a pile of them. And we always tried to break up the group to try and grab all different areas of the workshops. So one person go this one person different. And then when we come back to a meeting, we would try and share what we learned. They do not recommend that now. They recommend that maybe 2 or 3 go to one workshop, so they both get the information, or 2 or 3 of them get the information to bring it back, because I remember my first convention I went to, I walked out of there the first night to my room, and I had a headache like you can't believe. Information overload. And I told Beth the same thing. I said, you better have a bottle of aspirin when you go back to your room, because you are just so overloaded. And I don't think I was too far off. But they've got presenters, they've got all kinds of different things that we're able to go to and learn. And it's very, very valuable stuff to go to it.
Business in the school is huge,
Oh,
and state legislature and what you learn and how it's all.
the best way I can explain to becoming a trustee is when you give your oath and you sit here, you're stepping into a whirlwind. And it takes the first year and a half to 2 years for you even to get caught up. And then you kind of start learning bits and pieces here and there, and here, and then it kind of starts making sense. And then you can kind of venture out in different areas, but what you already learned, it might have changed. So then it's like, okay, you got to back up and learn some stuff over again. It
So it's like parents and teenagers.
pretty much,
Good
yeah,
analogy.
pretty much, yeah. You know, and I'm not gonna lie, you know, it's very time consuming. You know, you spend a lot of time. The biggest joke with a board that we've had for years, it's only one meeting a month. Oh, heck no. No. You have, well, here's a 3-day deal. You're gone Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so you travel Tuesday to get down, they alternate Boise to Coeur d'Alene. So Tuesday your travel day, Wednesday you're down there all day, Thursday you're down there all day, Friday you're down there most of the day. You get out at noon, and then you travel back home. So, you know, Coeur d'Alene isn't that bad, but Boise, it can be a jaunt because by the time you go to Spokane, you're.
In the past 2 weeks alone, I've had 9 meetings or appointments or gatherings for the schools in just the past 2 weeks.
It can get very taxing at times. I will say.
I do have to say tonight was the first night that I felt so good with this report, Annette, and I have to give you credit for all of your great explanation of numbers and how all of that works. And finally, like tonight, I felt so comfortable. I kind of felt like, ooh, I know what all of that means now. It's like in January, so, but it's like, before that, it's like, what are they exactly saying? Why is
Yeah,
it? What does that mean? And from your great explanation, and then finally that, like, all clicking.
And then really, once you think you got a lot of this other stuff on the side, you got it figured out, then you jump into the finance. And that's a whole different can of worms. I think only 2 people in the state of Idaho, maybe 3, know finance. Tim Hill was the old finance guy in Boise. Julie Oberly, who took Tim's spot, knows, and Danette. I swear to God, I think that's the only 3 in the state of Idaho that knows the Idaho. Yeah. Anyway, it's crazy. So, let's see, moving forward. Idaho Education Law Seminar, April 22nd and 23rd. There's another thing. You walk away from that law seminar thinking, holy cow, are we in trouble? I mean, there are lawsuits like you can't believe. I mean, it's pretty wild.
And she's working on the agenda, so that's why it's not in there yet.
Okay. M, Idaho State Department of Education, Superintendent of Public Instruction, Debbie Critchfield's proposal, Idaho K-12 education school budget for fiscal year 2024 to 2025.
This is just an update just to keep us informed, that Critchfield submitted the K-12 budget to the governor's office on September 1st. And there'll be a lot of back and forth before we know what the final budget looks like. So there's not a lot of questions to ask. There's not a lot of inference to make. We don't really know the impact yet. Just wanted you to know that she did submit her first K-12 education budget to the governor's office September 1st. She's a couple highlights from her little media release that she sent out. She wants to add a little more money to the overall general fund. And that would be another 120 million. They're really focused on 3 buckets or 3 areas. Similar to last year, you have like 80% of the overall budget going to staffing and the career ladder. You have a small percentage, similar to last year, that would go to school outcomes, like trainings, so staff can have the skills to achieve student outcomes, but also when school sites meet a certain growth or achievement level, there's money that goes towards school districts. So that'd be 3% of the budget. And their other proposal budget is about 12% of that total budget to go towards discretionary funds, she's calling it. I think the intent behind that was to have some money that could be dedicated at school sites for facilities. So we'll see. We'll keep you posted as Governor Little responds and the back and forth begins.
All right, moving on to N. Excuse me. 2023 secure and future grant applications.
Yes. This is, the objective of the grant here is to help schools fund safety and security projects. All right, so let me find my notes. Mark Feddersen does a school safety and security analysis every 3 years. So 2 of our schools went through that this last year, and 2 of our schools went through that in 2019, so they're ready for another analysis. So from that, the objective of the grant is then each school can have up to $20,000 and put money towards a security or safety measure that needed to be addressed from that analysis. Part of the application process then is the school safety committee that meets this Thursday will look at each grant and give us their approval before we submit it to the state. Another part of the application process is to have the board look at the grant, approve it, and then we submit it to the state October 15th. So Joe Gilmore, the director of facilities, and I looked through each school's analysis, and we walked through each school this summer, and also getting confirmation from the principals that this is one project that we should address in the grant. So I'll take you through each one. That's kind of how we landed on each project. So you look at Hayburn. There's 5 exterior doors that are wearing out. And so the original door from 1924 needs to be replaced. And it'll cost over $10,000. And the security part of that is it's an exterior door, so we just want that solid and secure. Then you can have more than one project per school, because you can spend up to $20,000. So the other project for Hayburn was inadequate exterior lighting, particularly at the main entrance. So we would devote a fixture and some LED lights and installation, so that would be $3,500. So the total project comes to $18,500. The next one is St. Mary's High School. Hayburn and Upriver are the 2 that had the biggest projects. Again, based on the analysis. So for St. Mary's High School, what was written from the report was the inadequate exterior lighting, particularly at the 2 main entry points of the school. You have the parking lot side and you have the goat trail side. And so again, we would spend about $12,000 to add fixtures and LED bulbs plus the labor for installation. Joe's assessment was the electric circuit could sustain the new lighting system. And then we have the middle school. Their main threat from the assessment was inadequate exterior lighting. Not so much at, well, both main entrance. Really, they have that one main entrance. And the additional exterior lighting between the two buildings, it's kind of that quad area. Okay, so between there and that exterior perimeter, they need some additional fixtures and lighting. And that was 6,500. Then we move into Upriver School. Their biggest security measure was to add, like most schools, a second door that will have an access control system, in other words, a buzz-in system. So they'll get the second door with an access control system, and that would be $16,000. There's also an exterior door in room 18 that ideally would need to be placed. That would be considered the second project of Upriver, and that was 5,000. So that'd bring us to 21,000. And what you can do on these projects is you can pull 1,000 from another school where we didn't spend 20, and because the priority would be Upriver there, use that $1,000 from either the middle school or the high school. And those are the 4 schools and grants.
Okay.
And if we're awarded that near $100,000, that just frees up, money in our plant facilities for other big projects that are a top priority when you all did that assessment a couple years ago on the facilities.
Is that the list, the red, green?
Yes, yes.
All right.
And Joe, when I walked through the schools and the assessment report with Joe Gilmore, I just got to say, his team had really tackled a lot of those projects already. It's impressive. So I want to definitely give his team a big shout out for how many of those security projects that they already tackled, which led us to what's another big one we could tackle through this grant.
We get an updated version of that, I'd love to see what it was.
I know.
Yeah, that's what. Before and after, just the
Yeah.
comparison to be able to see where we're moving.
Yes.
It's a morale thing.
For sure, and celebrate accomplishments along the way. And so that's definitely on the docket as we review that facilities matrix, if you will, to be able to talk about what has been accomplished and what are our priorities going forward, for sure.
Okay.
There you go.
Moving on to District Continuous Improvement Plan Development, 2023, 2024.
The document I shared in September, the document has stayed the same. Basically, I'm bringing it back. It was submitted in draft form to the state. And part of that process is they want school board approval. So I had shared it with you in September. It wasn't, even though it was in draft form, it wasn't ready to submit to the state yet because we wanted staff input. We got staff input in August. We also wanted community or family input, so we had that meeting September 27th where people could attend or people could write in their input. I incorporated some of that input into the continuous improvement plan. That's the part that did change, I should say. And then now tonight, we will bring it forward to you for a vote. So input on page 1, how we gathered input, that's new from prior years. The college and career mentoring system stayed the same. The data that I shared in September has stayed the same. The narrative has stayed the same, explaining our results. And then in section 5, which is page 7, they're not numbered, but yeah, there you go. Where we talked about successes and challenges and the plan for 2023-24, that's where I added based on staff and community input. Yeah, like continue with advisory meetings for every high school, continue with parent outreach for secondary families. Look to increase CTE courses for grades 7 through 12. You heard Principal Asbury talk about that. Continue and incorporate response to intervention into the school day at the elementary and middle schools. Reestablish parent engagement evenings for the elementary schools, that's happening. Hold on to the quarterly parent information nights for grades or children aged 2 to 4. You heard from the staff, continue with training in the PLC work per school across the school district. And we're using the early release Mondays as a time for professional training and collaboration for staff.
Okay.
Now, what will happen, while the draft form is shared at the state level, mid-October, soon, our data should be released, and then I can add more student metrics to this continuous improvement plan. And I would share that with you when we do our superintendent, when I do the superintendent report.
Okay.
Ideally. Yes.
So when did we vote on
During action items.
So, moving down to P, contract with independent contractor Judy Hall, Sunrise Educational Services.
This contract has, I don't know if it's gone before the board. We've had a contract with Judy Hall for the last 3 years. We're bringing it to the board. It's, she's an autism and behavioral specialist. She consults with the IEP team. And she has up to 6 days where she consults with the IEP team. Meaning, once she gets permission from parents, she'll do classroom observations. Then the consultation is a day where she spends with the IEP team, and she just equips them basically with strategies and ideas on how best to teach and serve kids in their classrooms.
So she comes up here from Boise to do that?
Yeah, she comes here. Last year, she used 4 days. So it says up to 6. Last year, they only needed 4 days. Bridget Arcu said it's, and Jen Miller, that it's really powerful to have somebody knowledgeable there with the team, actually observing the class, and then being able to just share some knowledge and some strategies on how to continue to instruct the classroom with students that might have behavior challenges or autistic characteristics.
Or behavior challenges, that's pretty much every classroom.
I didn't see it.
Exactly. She's an autism/behavior specialist through Sunrise Education Services. I can get you more if you want to see more of the certification.
So, good? All right, moving on to Q, Divco Services Agreement.
This is the school district for at least 12 years, if not longer, has had this service agreement with Divco, where it's preventative and maintenance service for our HVAC systems. Yeah. As Joe Gilmore said, it's money well spent to prevent or maintain the systems. Now with the RAS grant, we'll be updating those systems over the next couple of summers.
Okay, moving on to R, first reading and review board policies. Board policy number 602.16, learning materials reviewed and reconsideration.
Beth, you can jump in if you want.
Yes, and I just update Joey, she was here, so the special meeting was brought together, when it came to light that we didn't have a policy that really addressed the issues of library and extracurricular materials, and, Superintendent Wrench and I met, and then it just kind of snowballed. We had more and more realization that this was something that needed to be done. And so, I need to give Dr. Wrench credit for like really putting all of this together and coordinating the committee team of the current parapro library at the middle school, Dr. Poosh, Mark Reynolds, and myself worked together. We started out with boilerplate policy. We had to start from someplace. And then we had our meeting last week that I felt was really productive. It was kind of just a workshop, just talking about what our priorities were, what we were wanting to address. We brought in state resolution materials that gave us the tenor and the tone that the state wanted to accomplish with those materials on child safety and staying away from obscene or harmful to minors materials. So we incorporated a lot of that emphasis while keeping the feeling of the library for educational purposes, but making it relevant to our district and our educational purposes here in our district. So to summarize, basically and I believe it stated pretty clearly in one of the policies to protect the innocence of our children, and yet at the same time developing critical thinking as children grow up through our district. So age appropriately helping them to learn to have those skills to be able to critically think for themselves, but at the same time protecting our children from harmful materials.
So this is first reading?
So yeah, so after the workshop, so actually there were some patrons that were in attendance too, and they brought in some helpful ideas, and then among ourselves, we brought up ideas. We went paragraph by paragraph through all of these policies, taking out the things that we didn't like, adding some of the things that were specifically relevant to our district and our size of our schools, and the fact that we have a media center in the high school, and we have physical libraries in our elementary schools and our middle school. We felt it was really important that we get this up to speed. This is the first reading. We have a lot of other policies right now that are dealing with family and parental rights that we wanted to help make all of them dovetail with like the same language and the same
Message. Same message.
yeah, the same message, the same mission going through, so that they were all connected together. So I'm really glad that we were able to get this all being worked on at the same time.
Well, I know I reviewed all 4 of them and I didn't have any problem with it. And it seems that they were last reviewed on October 9th, so that was the only time they've been reviewed.
Yeah, October, tonight. Yeah. The special meeting was-
We have many.
I said, Tiana, where's the policy for library? I don't see the library policy. She goes, it should be right here. I was like, and she goes, I'll be back with you. You don't have to. So, yeah, so with that, Dr. Rich got on it and got the committee together and got us the relevant policies to be able to start working with. And then it wasn't an easy task to get a special meeting coordinated with busy schedules in a short time frame, but we wanted to have that first reading ready for tonight. And so with 4 days notice, it was posted 4 days before our special meeting. So there were patrons that were able to come. We had it at 5 o'clock. It was important to us that we have it where people could come and be involved and be a part of developing this. And again, reiterating it again, our policies, whenever we go through these, we have 3 readings. This is our first formal reading of this policy, these policies. And, again, if there are tweakings or suggestions, they can be brought to the district office, and we'll see adjustments in the second reading and then third reading. The other exciting part about these policies is there is a formal dispute procedure.
So that was good.
Yeah, it's really good. It's for parents, staff, kids, community residents can have a place to bring up any materials for discussion and for petition to either retain it or remove it, and it goes through the whole committee. There's a committee and then there's a vote. It's very detailed. I'm really happy about that.
I was pretty impressed with the
All right, so you're good with board policy, first reading, 602.16?
all four of them.
Yeah,
If you wanted to.
Well, just
Well, we're
talk
discussing,
about it. We
right?
got to vote on them later, so.
We don't vote on it tonight.
not, yeah, not today.
Well, yeah,
No, we won't vote on this.
no.
Pursuant to state law, this is on the 0.17, pursuant to state law, for receiving responsibility, it's supposed to maintain libraries, it's the practice that they had. Are you quoting state law somewhere in this, or what law are you referring to with that?
Are they down there on the bottom?
Because
And
it's
the
not,
references?
no, there's a US code, but there's no state law that you're referring to with that.
This is 602.17, Amy? Which one?
Yeah.
Yes.
602.17.
In the second paragraph,
It says,
after first edit, it starts with the person.
Got it. Yeah, got it.
And the next two sentences.
Yeah,
It's a US
it's
code at the
statute,
bottom, but it doesn't
hmm
it has Idaho.
It's Title
Commission for
33.
Libraries.
Yeah,
It does reference Idaho Commission for Libraries.
we can add that. There is a Title 33, I don't know the chapter that speaks to libraries. Good point, thank you. I wanted to point out just a couple things from the input that we are trying to capture in here. And that was to add the district residents throughout all three policies.
That we were talking about
The,
changing librarian's
correct,
definition or something.
yes, to library district personnel, so ideally that's interwoven throughout all three. And we took out we defined, hold on. Mhm.
We struck the library bill of rights.
Yeah, we took the library bill of rights. And we defined what meant harmful to, it's in the 602.17. We were struggling with, and Beth had brought that forward. In that second paragraph, the last sentence, we wanted to define what did inappropriate materials are harmful to minors mean. So it is in this US Code 254, Title 47, Chapter 5, Chapter 2, Part 2, H7. So we listed it there and we listed it down below in legal reference.
That terminology is used
Yes.
over and over again in the state resolution and in state statutes. So,
So,
well, that's pretty vague. What is harmful to minors mean?
so it's,
Well, the legal definition is quite long, and
That's
very
why-
detailed.
that's why I listed it here like that,
Yeah.
rather than,
Yeah, because you can't really, it's pretty in-depth, so.
Okay,
and then we will add the
And very detailed and very
state law.
protective.
reference.
so we're all good with the first reading on 602.16, 602.17, 602.18. Okay, we'll move on to S, second reading. Board policy 504.16 suicide prevention and 504.17 student health, physical screenings and examinations.
And the changes from the first to the second reading on here is we added the title prevention to suicide. And then in blue, you see that If we notice anything regarding the student's mental, physical, or emotional health or well-being is different or changes, we are to notify the student parent or guardian. Then it just walks through procedures for prevention, intervention, and post-vention. District personnel shall attend to the rights of the student and their family. With the student health physical screening, which might be 504 or it might be 505, but the policy about student health and physical screening, there are some questions. So this is the second reading. And so we will look to include some of those changes and get some of those questions answered about the organization that we use for health services. Does bullet 1 and 2 include opt-in? And if so, we need to write that in there. A better understanding, instead of in general, a better understanding of when or if we are providing services for a physical examination. Those are a few. And we removed, under abortion, we removed bullet 4 that had been there. So we will look to make those amendments for the next reading. And also, in the meantime, from now until November, patrons can continue to give us input.
And I forgot to read 60413.
Parent rights.
Parental rights.
The main
Under the
thing,
second reading.
yeah, the main thing, difference or update, it's really an update. And we were very strategic, as there's a lot of policy to update. I think we have over 1,000 policies. And, so we're chipping away at it. Obviously, each board meeting, as you see. We were strategic in picking some of the parent rights, knowing that in St. Mary's, parent rights is important. So what you'll notice there, the update here, is that we are just reinforcing the rights and responsibilities of parents to be primary stakeholders in the education of their child.
Yeah.
You got the opt-in, opt-out question.
With the second right and the revisions that you're introducing, can that article or that policy stay on the second reading for the next meeting rather than move to the third? So that people have time to review the changes without it progressing in the acceptance or non-acceptance process?
I think I understand you.
He's saying because you've made additional changes.
Yeah, we're on the second reading, so
Yeah,
now if we make more changes, then
See it
it would
include.
move to the third reading for final decision.
Well, there'd be a conversation first, and then, yeah.
I'm assuming it would move, so we would move it from the second now to the third one, the next meeting. It would stay there, and then the following meeting, we would vote on it.
So you're gonna give opportunity for comment on these changes at the next meeting. That's what he's asking
Cool.
before you take action on this policy.
Yes, yeah. So it'll appear up in the presentation part for conversation before we
Before it
move
goes
to
down to
action
the
later
action.
tonight. So
So
you're
when-
gonna see, for an example, tonight, you're gonna see a third reading tonight, there's a third reading. You're gonna see from one patron spoke to it, and you're gonna see my recommendation is gonna be to pull it instead of moving it into action.
So when you look at the agenda, you'll have a presentation agenda, which that's where these resolutions will be for the first, second, third reading. And then if you see it under the action items, then that's when we'll take a vote on it. So it should appear out there 3 times, and then the 4th time, we would move it to an action item.
Excuse me, that's not the case here, because you've got the third reading tonight for
Kind of.
education. You also have it as an action item.
Okay,
Can you
well,
bring this
I
one back?
guess then,
You see, that's where my confusion comes in.
Yeah.
okay. Well, then I misspoke then. I guess it should,
Well, no, is that the one that Dr. Rush was referring to?
The one she's referring to, yes, it'll be a fourth reading.
Because we're going to pull it tonight instead of voting
I
on it.
understand, but
Yeah.
yes, it's still documented here that you have that option, so if it comes up. That's why I would say if there's gonna be any changes like in the second read,
Mhm.
it should then stay in the second read. So that it's, because it really is the second read.
Yeah.
It's-
I see what
I see what you're saying there.
It goes to the third and the fourth. It can keep going, as I understand it, until it's resolved.
Well, and even if, you know, even if we have a conversation like this, which, you know, we're not supposed to, we can actually take action on it and table it until the next meeting. So, you know, it might not necessarily be an action item for yes or no, but the option, third option would be to table it until we get more information or till it's viewed more times to where we feel that it's sufficient to move it forward.
She doesn't fight.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I guess in theory, it should probably appear 3 times, and then the 4th time it should be an action item. Is that possible to do that? I guess we can do whatever we want to,
Well, I get-
and then
because
with that
some-
respect.
Well, but some
It
policies
is your
don't
decision.
change at all, and we keep it.
We wanna
3
move 'em
readings,
through.
Even though there hasn't been a change at all. So if there's times to table it, I mean, it's basically, we have a 3-read policy, or it could go to
To the
7
fourth.
reads.
Until we get it right.
It can keep going. It doesn't stay in stage 2. It just keeps being read until.
But
it's
what he's
finally
saying is
resolved.
though, is if it says it's the 3rd reading and it's, you know, the patrons out there see it's, well, 3rd reading, well, they're gonna take action on it. They have no idea that we may table it. They figure that it's gonna be either a yay or nay vote. So, pardon me?
It is your decision.
Yeah.
Either way.
I think there's a balance, right, to update and move. That, I think the intent behind 3 readings was it's going to give us at least 3 months to have people look at it, to give input, and to get the policy to a point after 3 months where it's ready for approval. And we want to balance that with patrons have enough time to give input before we move it to a
I
vote.
understand, but each article or each policy isn't gonna be questioned or, so when they are, then it should,
Table it.
it makes sense to me that it freeze it at that point and give people that opportunity. Because in all reality, you're still only getting the 3 reads.
Mhm.
You're
Possibly.
stalling it because it's different. It's a
Well-
different read. It's not, fact is, you could theoretically go back to the first read because it's a different policy. I'm simply asking for it to be froze at that point until
The input
the
is
rewrites are
updated.
done, and then move on.
Move on the next month after all the rewrites are completed.
Yeah. but,
See if we
but
included all the
it stays in
rewrites.
that- It stays in that.
Second,
this
that
takes
cycle.
care. It stays in the second right because, I mean, when am I gonna have?
So
access?
in theory, yeah,
I got
it could stay in the 2nd writing
For a while.
3 or 4 or 5 times.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
making you let,
yeah, really. I mean, that's, I see the problems
Iterations.
with it, but I also see the benefits to it too.
yeah, I
Yeah.
see the balance of that and dating policy.
Is it possible to update the procedure that you guys put forth of the readings of it to say that after essentially they're live, once you have it finished, then you'll wait till the following month to do action on it instead of doing it at the same meeting?
Yeah, I guess we would have
That's what we're
to.
about to,
Pardon
I
me?
think that's what we're about to do tonight with that 3rd reading.
I mean, in your
In-
policy.
Policy, yeah. I
In
mean,
your policy and procedure that you have already voted on for doing these multiple readings. That's what I'm asking for you to change.
Yeah.
I think we should consider having a whole policy committee.
Yeah, hallelujah.
Because
Well, I
Regular board
think it's noted. We'll look into it and see what we can do as far as, I get what you're saying. So
Thank
we'll
you.
try and figure out a happy
Something, yeah.
medium here where,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think we would request it, on the parental rights and the health one, that you guys not.
we won't. Yep.
so.
Yeah, it's a whole new thing and it's growing.
When we're in a third reading and realize there's still a lot of input,
I mean,
we'll
yeah.
pull it.
Yeah, we'll table it and, pardon me?
School day, as an example. Where-
Yeah, they're ready for that one to be voted on. Because that's a straightforward one, is that what you're saying?
We couldn't wait 3 months.
Yeah.
Well, when they're starting school.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're here,
So
we
go.
there's some.
And so, yeah, so I guess with that said, there's some things that are gonna be time sensitive that, we're gonna have to try and move on, so.
I understand, but those could be the exception rather than the rule.
Yeah. So, we'll look at it and see what we can come up with to make it more palatable. Okay, so moving on to the third reading, board policy
yeah.
50414.
Let me get to a new tab. G?
Okay.
Yep, okay. So the administration of medication, that one? Yes. So patron Ted Turner talked tonight about that. I received an email. Ted Turner and I also talked in person, I think, and over the phone. And so I am recommending that
Table.
we table this. There are some changes he's mentioned that I agree with in terms of particularly the emergency administration of medicines. We can remove that whole section. And
Well, I
so,
have a question on that part of it.
yes.
You wanted to know what emergency is? You asked what an emergency was.
No, I didn't, well. I
What did
gave a
you ask?
definition. Well,
The definition of emergency? First
Okay.
grader on the playground who gets stung by a bee. Would that be considered an emergency?
But that's already covered under anaphylactic.
Anaphylactic shock.
yeah,
It's
this-
it's already covered in a different
Yes, I
section.
know it is, but that's an emergency, but there's other emergencies that could happen.
Yes, there are, but each one of them has a different determination by the person who's there at hand. A parent sees an emergency different than an EMT. You can have two EMTs show up for quote unquote an emergency, and they're gonna combat each other. You go into a triage in a city hospital where they're making those decisions for which one's an emergency. There's constant conflict. Whether it's an agency, an individual, to give a definition for an emergency, you just, in this situation, you just can't do it, in my opinion. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I've been a paramedic for 8 years. I've seen a number of emergencies. And I always teach my students to plan for emergencies, you won't have them.
But you're a trained personnel as a paramedic, a teacher, or paraprofessional, or somebody.
That's what we're
who
saying.
is not.
Right.
Now, do you?
Well,
When in doubt, we would call
Did you
911.
say every
Call
par-
911.
That's
did
what
you
this
say
is,
every
yes.
paramedic sees an emergency the same as you?
Oh, no.
Okay, you just answered my question.
Yes, but I'm saying that there are emergencies.
Yes.
Yes,
There
and I
are
don't,
not paramedics around.
right,
Okay.
but but all those other, the fact that issue isn't there is that those are covered in the right that's already present. It doesn't have to be addressed as an emergency because all that is covered in the first right.
Then it's- Oh, we'll go. We're gonna pull it.
Okay, so yeah, we'll table that one. All right, so board policy 60103, school day.
This one
Just change
is a good example.
dismissal.
This is ready for approval.
Okay. All kinds of red.
This is one where we added, I think, 10 minutes to the end of the school day. Same instructional minutes for the school day, same instructional minutes for the school year. By adding the 10 minutes, the school district was able to include 3 professional development training days for the staff.
Great example of how this would change with 3 readings.
Yes, this is one that could push through. It's pretty straightforward.
All right, so the next board policy is 1006.02, visitors to the schools.
I have a question on that, Jody.
Sure.
On page 4, you guys
have an omission or a typo. At the very top, you have a bullet point 1, and right under that it says items 1 and 2 from the list above shall not apply when the person, etc. There is no bullet point 2.
Okay.
Thank you. So we won't be voting on that one tonight. We want the table.
Yep, so it's table.
And then my other follow-up question is, since you're choosing to table that, are we gonna table your other policy of the sex offenders so that we continue to have a policy in place
Right.
in the interim?
Yeah, the sex offender is actually being incorporated into the visitor one.
Right, that was why I was asking to not strike the other one until we get
Correct.
this one implemented.
Yeah, those two go hand in hand.
If that's the only change suggestion, is it not possible to say with amendment?
We don't know what 2 is yet, though.
And now does the public have a chance to comment on that? You're adding it and then ask.
So, yeah, so we'll table both of those. Okay.
Yeah.
So moving on to board request administration and board development.
But your one board development, I would take that as the question to find out more about the coach
Yes.
and the costs or fees.
Yeah, I was just,
And you may have more, but that's where I'll follow up on that.
thank you.
Okay, so moving on to the action items. Review and consider motion to approve the 2022-2023 audit report.
I make that motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. W, review and consider motion to approve the 2023 securing our future grant application for the Hebron Elementary School.
I make that motion as read.
I second the motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. X, review and consider motion to approve the 2023 secure our future grant application for St. Mary's High School.
I make that motion as read.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Keeping up. Y, review and consider motion to approve the 2023 Secure Our Future Grant Application School for the middle school.
I make that motion as read.
I second the motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
No.
You thought.
All in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Z, review and consider motion to approve the 2023 Secure Our Future Grant Application for the Upriver School.
I make that motion as read.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Somebody else.
All in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. AA, review and consider a motion to approve the 2023-2024 Continuous Improvement Plan.
I make that motion as read.
I second the motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. BB, review and consider a motion to approve the contract with independent contractor Judy Hall, Sunrise Educational Services.
I make the motion as read.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. CC, review and consider motion to approve the DevCo service agreement.
I make that motion as read.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. DD, review and consider motion to declare a need to approve application for alternative authorization teacher to new certification and/or endorsement for Victoria Carson.
I make that motion as read.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. EE, review and consider motion to declare a need to approve application for emergency provisional certificate for Alyssa Gildrich.
I make that motion as read.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. FF, review and consider motion to declare a need to approve application for emergency provisional certificate for John Shepherd.
I make that motion as read.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. GG, review and consider motion to approve the 2023-2024 applications for in lieu of transportation.
I'll make that motion as
Hold
read.
on, for
No,
Kimberly
she needs
Oh,
Smith,
yeah, we have to do.
there's an updated mileage request. It's 2 pages. So,
So Kimberly Smith and who's the other one?
well, it's pages.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry, horse.
Yeah, those hurt.
Okay, done.
Walk it off, walk it
That
off.
hurt.
Yeah, those hurt.
Glad it's all over.
Sorry.
Is there another?
I need one too.
There's two people on it.
Is there two
No.
people?
2 or 3?
You have page 2.
We have Kimberly Smith,
Yes.
right?
There's 2
another
pages of
one.
Kimberly.
Oh,
I thought there was another one.
There
these
will
are
be.
repeated. No, you get one.
On NG,
There's a,
Is it 1, 2? Is this what you're counting as 2?
there's 2 pages for Kimberly.
yeah, and then
In G and
And
the
it's
second
in G,
alphabet.
and then you've got
another one.
another one.
Where is it? It's not in G.
It's in the second G.
Second
Oh,
G.
second
GG.
G. G.
There we go.
Yep.
Okay. Kimberly
so-
Smith and,
And here's Kimberly Smith. Kimberly
And-
Smith. There's another, for Heather Hill.
and Taylor
Heather Hill
Schilling.
has just 1 page, right?
Correct.
Taylor
So-
Schilling.
The
So-
motion is
The,
in lieu of,
yeah, in lieu of, for the 3 kids,
mhm. You have to, do we have to
It's-
say the 3 kids on, so just the application in lieu of transportation for Kimberly Smith, and then we have to do it again for
it's approved.
Heather Hill
You can approve it all at once because it's for her.
and
Just
Heather
wrote it
Hill.
out. We're approving 2 miles per trip,
Mhm.
and we're also approving 4.6 miles for 1 trip because it's a midday.
Oh, she's got 2 trips, doesn't she?
She's
Okay.
going-
So, but do we have to do each person?
No, she
I
said
think
we
it's
put it
written as
together.
1 in lieu of, since it's for 1 family.
One
So
family for 3
I
children.
move
We
that-
just wrote it on 2 different pieces of paper because it was 2 different mileages.
So I make a motion to approve application for in lieu transportation for Kimberly Smith and Heather Hill.
I second the motion.
Got a motion and a second. Got that, Ms. Clerk? Any further discussion?
No, I knew there was 2.
All in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Review and consider motion to approve board policy 504.14, administration of medication by school personnel.
We're putting that one on.
Table.
Table.
Make a motion to table it.
I make a motion, we table the review and consider a motion for board policy 50414, administration of medication by school personnel.
I second the motion.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Review and consider a motion to approve board policy 60103, school day.
I make that motion as read.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Are we gonna table the next one?
Next two.
Next 2.
Next two, okay.
Review and consider motion to approve board policy 1006.02, visitors to the school.
I make a motion that we table board policy number 100602, visitors in schools.
I second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Table,
All
no,
in favor saying aye.
aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. KK, review and consider motion to remove board
That's a
policy
table.
1102.10, sex offenders.
I make the motion that we table board policy number 1102.10, sex offenders, to the next meeting.
I second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Review and consider a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion, we adjourn.
Second that
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all for joining.